Wise Studies presents The Philosophy of the Yoga Sutra with Karen O'Brien Kopp. You can find more contemplative wisdom from our growing library of audio courses at wisestudies.com. At Wise Studies, you can sign up to our newsletter to receive information about exclusive updates, special offers, and new releases. You can also stay connected with us through all major social media platforms. Wise Studies presents The Philosophy of the Yoga Sutra with Karen O'Brien Kopp. At Wise Studies, we are committed to illuminating the texts and teachings of the world's great contemplative traditions. In this series, Karen examines the seminal text, the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. In this first session, Karen gives an overview of the Yoga Sutra and discusses the historical and philosophical background that gives rise to this influential text.
Hello and welcome to this lecture series on the Yoga Sutra. In this course, we'll be reading through the Yoga Sutra together. And this is often considered as a key text in the study of yoga and as the first systematized or formal account of the discipline of yoga. This doesn't mean that the text invents the tradition or puts forward ideas or practices that are completely new, but there is a distinction between the system of yoga that is presented in this classical text and what we might call proto-yoga or early archaic yoga that existed before it. In this episode, we will be locating the Yoga Sutra in its historical context, and we'll be reviewing the broad themes of the text. In each of the next 4 episodes, we'll be selecting each one of the 4 chapters in turn and reading through those with reflection. So let's start with the historical context. I would like to firstly address 3 questions of the provenance or origin of this text, looking at the date, at issues around the authorship, and actually at the title itself. So let's think about the date first. The date range for the text is from around the 2nd century before the Common Era to, at the upper limit, the 4th or 5th century of the Common Era. And we are talking here about the classical period of Indic history. Now, the reason for this date range is partly the debate as to whether this was an oral text or a written text when it was first put together. As I mentioned, the Yoga Sutra does not invent the tradition of yoga, but it really represents an apex of knowledge, the knowledge that existed up to that point. And it draws together the ideas from the early Vedic period, from other texts such as the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, which is part of the Mahabharata, and also other parts of the Mahabharata. And it weaves those ideas together with concurrent practices and philosophies also from the Buddhist tradition and the Jain tradition. Now, there are some historians who date the early development of yoga all the way back to the 2nd millennium BCE, to the Indus Valley civilization. And this represents the period of the early urban societies in the Indian subcontinent. There were 2 cities in particular that were important in the Indus Valley civilization. There was Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. And archaeologists have found seals in both of these sites.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?